Good afternoon, good afternoon, and welcome back to my second hour of Up Close and Personal with Angela on behalf of Aspiring Authors Magazine. For those that do not know who I am Angela Thomas Smith. I am the founder of AALAC, which is African American Author Literacy Awareness Campaign, where my desire is to bring awareness to brown authors all over this world. I'm also the CEO of Aspiring Authors Magazine, where our desire is to touch on topics that's affecting our brown community all over this world. I tell you, it is a great joy to be able to share people's journey and people's testimony and things in hopes of educating, empower, and encouraging individuals to walk in that purpose. I tell you, this afternoon, I had an amazing guest, author, chef, Donald Smith came by, graced my platform. I have another amazing guest. I tell you, every time I open up my platform, they keep blessing me with some amazing women and men of God, and I thank God for them. Today, I have an amazing lady. I'm excited to bring her up. Her name is Shawnee Palmer. She's an author. She's also a licensed counselor and social worker. Let me get that correct. So let me bring her up and allow her to share just a little bit about herself. Hey, beautiful. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am great. But I am super excited to have you on my platform. If you would please just share with the listeners just a little bit about who Miss Shawnee is.
Yes, so I'm Shawnee Palmer. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I love connecting with other audiences. I am a licensed clinical social worker, so a mental health therapist. I'm a mindset coach and an author. I just currently released my book, Shifting Your Mindset: A Guide to Overcome Depression, Anxiety, and Trauma, a couple of weeks ago. So it's something I'm very super, super excited about. It's my baby, very passionate about it. Looking forward to speaking with you further about it, but I'm the owner of Alpine's Empowerment Agency and Love and Serenity Wellness. So I have my own private practice, and it's been really awesome to be able to have that avenue, to be able to provide individual counseling to individuals who have difficulty with anxiety, depression, trauma, issues with work related stress, relationship issues. So it's always been a dream of mine to be able to have something of my own. It's just really exciting to be able to have that avenue to be able to assist other people with their healing journeys.
And I'm just sitting over here in the back, just smiling because I'm just amazed. I'm proud of you
Thank you.
because, you know, everything that you just mentioned, those are topics and things that is affecting our brown community, and
Hmm.
we don't talk about it. So I definitely applaud you for that. Not only that, you are definitely setting a role model and an example for our brown kids
Mm,
because we don't see where I came up at. I grew up in the country, and we didn't see a lot of our brown people in mental health field, in the medical field, and doing a lot of those things. So I applaud you for that. I applaud you.
yes,
What
thank
made
you.
you want to get into the mental health field? Because I also I took up therapy recreation when I was in college. So I have some experience working with people with disabilities. So
Hmm.
what made you want to get into that field?
Yeah, so it wasn't an initial thought that I had growing up. I was just like, I'm going to be a doctor or lawyer because those are the things that looked really good growing up. Watching people on TV really excel in life. Now, I didn't grow up in a family where people who, had these degrees and had these really significant careers. I was just like thinking very big. But when I went into to college, I was focusing on business and I started to fail while taking business classes. So I was just like, okay, this is not my calling because I was always an A plus student. I was always high honor roll. So I got into college and I'm starting to, almost fail my business courses. And I'm like, okay, something's not right here. So I had to shift gears and I went into the nursing field and I grew a passion for it. So I became a certified nursing assistant. And while doing that, I was just like, okay, cool. I love helping people. That's what my focus has to be on. But I was starting to get health issues like high blood pressure from working as a certified nursing assistant. And I was just like, okay, and then I'm working beside nurses, and I'm like, okay, I need to rethink this because there's no way that I should be feeling this way. I should be feeling this burnt out, and I haven't even gotten to the next level. And then there were just issues with, me working full time, being a full time mom, and then the nursing classes and things like that. They just would not mesh well with my job and things with my life. So I was just like, okay, that's another area that's just really frustrating. So I started to look at universities, and then I started looking at the degree options and things like that. And then I saw social work, and I was like, oh, okay. I could do social work. So I just did more research on it. And then the moment that I took the first class for social work, I knew it was for me. I was like, oh, this is all me right here. This makes sense why I had to go through all of these hoops, and I had went through a lot of hoops. I started college right out of high school, so I'm just like, I should have my degree by now, and I'm like, I'm so stuck. So when I did that, bam, it was a no brainer, and I just kept elevating from there. And I was just like, okay, now I can understand why the social work field is my area because at that point, I had to really start addressing my childhood and my upbringing and my own issues that brought me to this space. Whereas I just always had a natural talent for helping other people. Like I loved helping other people. I love being that person that you can call or come and talk to and work through your problem. Like I'm just really good at listening to people, and I recognized that that was something that you would need as far as having like a natural skill of being patient and being a good listener. So I was just like appalled by it. But in reality, I know that in my family, there was a lot of unresolved issues. And I was able to understand how abnormal a lot of the things that I was exposed to in my upbringing and just in family dynamics, just how abnormal things were. And I think that that helped me and motivated me even more to do it and work in the field because of where I come from and knowing that being a role model is key for me. Like I've always said, no matter what I do care about what the youth think of me. That was my thing. And I was just like, well, whatever. I don't want them to think I'm out here doing crazy stuff, even though we're all human. We're going to do things that we're not too proud about. We're going to make mistakes. But I was also that type of person, like, I'm learning from my mistakes regardless. I'm not going to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again because I have the youth that are looking up to me in my family. But then I also have my son because I had him my second year of college. So, it just made sense for me to keep going. And he was my biggest motivator because I'm just like, well, shoot, what I was exposed to, I got to make sure I don't expose him to the same thing. So going into that field was very, very important to me. Like it was personal, outside of just being on a broad scale, wanting to help other people. But I was just like, I need my healing. I need to make sure I do not taint my son, even though I know that there's some things that I still had to work through that he was still going to be exposed to, but the context in which he was exposed to it would be different because he would see me grow and elevate over time versus, being consistently the same person with the same unhealthy behaviors.
Wow. You've
Hmm.
shared a lot, and I'm just sitting here listening to you, and then I'm thinking about the conversation we had in inbox, and you were like, do we have any questions for the show? And I'm like, oh no, I don't do the questions. So I'm just thinking, I'm just like, okay, I knew why there was no questions for the show, because I like for things to flow naturally, and um, right before this morning, I think the first conversation I had with somebody, it kind of like took me to a place, and I was like, I'm going to talk about this on the show today because there's probably a lot of people that's going through this, and with this pandemic, and I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm just gonna be transparent because I am who I am, and I share um, my struggles with my mental illness openly. It's nothing that I used to, because I didn't know when I was going through, when I was beginning to go through the process. I didn't know what it was, and I suffer from depression. I suffer from PTSD, and some days I have good days, and some days I have bad days, and some people just don't understand. And we try to press, and we try to put on these masks, and we try to be strong, and we try. This morning, I think I may have. I know I did. I may have got an attitude,
Mhm.
and I realized it though, and I was woman enough to apologize, and I had to step back, and I had to think about, okay, do you need to take a break from what you're doing? Take a day and just relax because you don't need to be coming off on people like that. So I apologize. And then I also reminded them too that, I deal with a lot of people. You're not the only person that I deal with. And you have to be mindful that you're asking me a lot of questions and I'm one person. And you're coming at me like you're bombarding me with questions right now.
Mhm.
So there's probably a lot of people out there that people are coming at them all types of way. And with everything that's going on, um, how can we deal with not being overly aggressive? Because I think I was overly aggressive,
Mhm.
and during this time, how because I don't think I don't think I'm overwhelmed. But how do I
Mhm.
know if I'm overwhelmed? What are some
Mhm.
signs of being overwhelmed? Because during this time we may be overwhelmed, and then holiday season is coming up. How can you know if you're overwhelmed and that you may need to step back and take a break? Because I know that we have to practice self-care and self-love, and that's very important. So if you could share some tips.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really can give you gratitude for expressing that, hey, I'm struggling with these things, and even today something came up where I acted out of character. And that's the most important piece there, is that you have that awareness, that you catch it right when it happens, and that you're not in denial, because that's how you start making that change towards that shift that you need in your life. If you're constantly on the go, 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 busy, 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 eventually your cup is going to be drained. Eventually you're going to get into a space where you're irritable easily, and that you're triggered by the littlest things. And you have to take a step back and say, where is this coming from? Is this person personally attacking me, or have I been attacking myself and I have yet to address that attack? Because many people are just pushing through life, and they don't take time out to even check in with themselves to reflect. So if you're routinely reflecting in with yourself, it doesn't leave room open for those attacks to come to fruition. When people say self-care and self-love, that's very vague. It can look many different ways on different days depending on your mood, environment, situations. And especially with everything going on in the world today, there's been so many changes for 2020 that we haven't had time to just sit still with the changes. Before we get accustomed to one, here's another one taking place, right? So you have to be able to make sure that you're prepared at all costs for all of the changes taking place. But you can never be too prepared, because you still have to experience the journey at hand. But a lot of people are not sitting still and being present. Right? We're always so caught up in the past. Right? We may be looking at how the pandemic started, and we're still at awe and frustrated that it's still here. And we're also looking at, well, how long is it going to be here? So we're thinking about the future and how it's going to be impacted, but we're not recognizing, well, how is it impacting me today? Like, why am I so hyper focused on it right here and right now? Because you're fearful of what's yet to come, but you have to kind of take into consideration the things that you do have control over. I don't think enough people do that, and I think that that's in addition to the awareness, is that people recognize what control they have over situations, and be able to pick apart those things and say, well, what can I do about this? There are some things you have the ability to be safe. Right? You have the ability to control your emotions and how you decide to cater and nurture yourself during those times. And those are the things that you have to focus in on in the moment, because those are things that you can apply a skill to right away. People are looking at like grand things that they need to take place versus, with the financial crisis that's happening right now due to the pandemic. People are thinking about, oh, well, the solution would be I get this X amount of money. And it's like, well, what are you going to do to get to that money? Like, you can't just focus in on the money alone, because then you're going to aggravate yourself. Then you're applying all this pressure to yourself to do this grand thing that is not going to be within your reach within 1 week, you know? But then that causes a shutdown. And then you don't want to actually want to do anything because you thought of this big idea to do, and then you overwhelmed yourself. So you mentioned, how do people know when they're overwhelmed? When you know that you have not taken a break, when you try to push through difficult times and you keep doing that, you're consistent with pushing through. You don't have to push through. You're living in survival mode every single day when you do that, and you don't have to do that. You should be able to just be free and at peace some days out of the week. And if you're never experiencing that, then you're overwhelmed, right? I don't care if it is the norm. Things that are norm or abnormal as well at the same time, they can be unhealthy. So our body is not only is our mind a good indicator of what's going on, but our bodies too. Do you have aches and pains? Some people will have aches and pains and they'll just brush it off like, ooh, that's nothing. Let me just go ahead and keep pushing through the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, why don't you just stop what you're doing and sit with the thought of, where is this ache and pain coming from? Let me go ahead and do something so that way it doesn't come back. Maybe you need to sit and massage your back. Stress is real. you know it's International Stress Awareness Week, and it started today. And you may be able to take time out to say, okay, well, let me go ahead and massage this piece right here. Let me massage the lower part of my back and release some of this stress that my body has accumulated over time, because we're picking up on positive and negative stress every single day, right? People who are getting ready to, start a new job, start a new business, that's stressful. It has positive rewards long term, but it's still stress, and too much of that is just that, too much. It can transform over into negative stress, and your body is still going to be impacted in the way of, how typical negative stressors are. So I think awareness is the most important aspect of things, and then also really finding time to check in with yourself. If you're irritable and snappy, that's a clear indication that you're overwhelmed. You need to take a step back from the things that you do that are normal and do something that's different. Everybody needs a little bit of spice in their lives. You can't just have the same routine every single day. You're going to get bored of it. Your mind and body gets bored of it. Okay? It gets sick of you. You get sick of yourself. So when you're at that point, that's when you know you have to take a step back.
And it's funny you say that. Well, it's not funny you say that, because even after the conversation, even after the inbox on yesterday, um,
Mhm.
somebody told me, they say, Angela, you gonna get some rest? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take off tomorrow. They said, but you scheduled your interviews. I said, yeah. I say, but my interviews, after this interview with you, the
Mhm.
rest of the day I'm taking off. I'm free. I had already planned that. You know what I'm saying? I had already
Mhm.
planned that. And it's just like this morning, that inbox, just like, just because they it just set me off. Like, I just had a
Mhm.
long drawn out conversation with you last night. And then you came in my inbox early this morning before I even get out my bed. I'm saying, you keep ringing my inbox. Like, it wasn't just one message. It was, and then there were long messages. So
Mhm.
it kind of took me somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I already know. Thank you. I needed that. I needed that. So
Okay.
when I told you that yesterday, he knew I needed that. So,
Mhm.
hey, I
Yeah.
just have to be obedient. And sometimes we push people and we encourage people and we pour into people. Sometimes we need other people to pour in us, and we have to recognize that. So, it's very important. So I thank you for coming on today and
Yeah.
pouring into me, because I needed that. I really did. But enough about me. I want to hear about your book. And I also want, if you have it, I want you to show your book. I want you to tell people how they can get your book.
Yes, yes. So I got it back there, but then I
Okay.
got a copy right here.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see it with the glare.
Yes.
So this is Shifting Your Mindset, a guide to overcome depression, anxiety, and trauma. And earlier I said that this is my baby. This is my baby because this is something that has gotten me to the place that I'm at today. Like without me, creating this body of work, I would not be able to feel whole and at peace as I am today to be able to help the vast amount of people in the manners in which I do. Um, this book is about my story, but everybody else's story because I know that there are so many people who can relate to my story of coming from a place of dysfunction, growing up in dysfunction, creating dysfunctional behaviors, just having a dysfunctional mindset that was creating a whole lot of emotional and mental blockages. So while writing this book, i I had to heal. I didn't realize how much more healing I needed until I started writing this book 2 years ago. And what it focuses on is really addressing the pain that you've endured throughout the years, but also not just addressing it, acknowledging it, but working through it. Really finding ways to work through it independently. A lot of people are hurt by their parents, by family members, by partners, and things of that nature. And they tend to hold on to the fact that um, this other person needs to say sorry. They need to validate what took place in order for them to get closure and to really heal and move forward. And what I recognize is that, hey, you don't always need closure from those individuals because a lot of them have yet to change. Like they're still living their lives the same way. So if they come into your space and you're working on changing, that's going to be a trigger for you. And you're gonna get into like an entanglement with them where you're kind of going back and forth, round and round. And there's not going to be much of change until you decide to no longer go back and forth with that person. So, with this book, it's talking about, reflecting on the past, but not staying back there, not getting caught up in the past where it's causing more turmoil into the present. Because, as you know, with post traumatic stress disorder, whenever you have those flashbacks, it feels like you're right in that moment in the present, even though it's not there. But we have this ability to be able to have vision the way that we do. We close our eyes, we can keep our eyes open and think about something that happened. We can think of, we can smell, we can feel, we can taste, we can sense everything that was happening in that moment, no matter how old we were, if it's engraved in our brain and it has that much pain towards it. So when you do that time after time, it creates more friction in your life, because that pain, it holds more weight, it builds up. And I was starting to recognize that every time I reflected back on some of my childhood memories, that pain was so, it was so vivid. Everything was so vivid. And I was just like, I'm cringing, I'm having stomach pains, um, I'm losing, my focus, and I'm getting so wrapped up that I've spent 30 minutes to an hour back there at something that happened when I was 6 or 7 years old, and I'm in my 30s. So I can't keep doing that to myself, especially being a therapist. And I work with a lot of people who have trauma. Like I have a trauma certificate, and I knew that with trauma, like it gets very, very deep working with clientele. And I'm just like, in order for me to continue to like enhance my skills, I have to make sure that my trauma is dealt with. So I did that work and it's painful. It is, but while it's an ugly journey, it's beauty, within it as well, because that's where you kind of take back control over parts of your life that during times where you didn't have any control, and you get to change the narrative moving forward. So I talk to people in this book about how to move forward with their lives, how to address it, how to move forward, and then how to get control so that way you continue to keep on with that forward motion and you don't have to worry about backtracking. So the book is three parts. Attuning to yourself is the first portion where it talks about, building that self care, that self love, building your intuition so that way you're connecting more with your greater self. that self that you have yet to meet. It's like you're nurturing that part of yourself so that way you can actually get closer to it to be able to live, and walk into your life purpose. Because in order to do that, you have to evolve. Um, and then the second part, starts looking back into the past, where now, okay, now that you built yourself up in some areas, now we can go back and look at the past, because the past is painful, but you need strength to be able to do so. We don't want you to be weak going into the past. And just being a therapist, I always do that with my clients that come in. I'm like, no, we're not going to start, with all of the pain that you dealt with. We're going to look at how do we create a strong foundation for something that you've created, that's not attached to your past. So that's always my motto in everything that I do. Just because it's been beneficial for me, and I just know that when you start creating a new foundation, it can't be broken down. Right? It cannot be broken down. So I want everybody to create a strong foundation for themselves where they can continue to build on that foundation, rather than having to feel like, okay, it's falling down, it's rocky, I got to keep starting all over. We don't want you to keep having to start all over. We want you to keep building, keep
That's it.
growing, keep going.
That's it. That's it.
And then the third portion is, um, all about getting back control, letting go of control, but then also understanding the things that you do have control over, right? So we don't have control over how people perceive us, how they take in rejection. And those are the things that people who truly are like, who care a lot about what other people think, hold on to. And I was just one of those people too, where I was like, listen, I need everybody to think that I'm this happy go lucky person, that I'm really smart, I have all of these great things going on, but let me go ahead and hide my pain. And I'm just like, that's not creating an authentic version of yourself. So you got to learn how to let go of these things and let people think what they want to think, and you don't have to overly invest yourself into it. But I know that that came from a place of feeling rejected and abandoned, you know and from my childhood. So I talk about those things: abandonment, ways to forgive in this book, ways to tackle fear, depression, anxiety, because those are the things that I had as well. And I still battle with some of those things because healing is a journey. It goes in phases. So while I have been able to get a good grasp on the things, I have so many years of my life where it was dedicated to these things that I'm still unlearning some things and I'm creating new things. And then after I learn something new, I'm having to shift and unlearn that and then relearn. So it's like an evolution that people just do not understand until they are okay with understanding,
That's
right?
it.
So that's what this
Wow.
book is all about. And I have exercises and journal prompts and things like that in the book for every single chapter, so that way you can take your time with it and that you don't have to rush through it, because healing, you cannot rush through healing. If you do, it's just like you're shortchanging yourself. So you get a chance to take your time. But then I also kept it short and sweet so that way you wouldn't have to read too much. And we can just get straight to the point. So you can start on your healing journey.
Wow. I tell you, that is an amazing book. So I want to encourage individuals to please go over and visit your website so they can get a copy of that book. They can also follow you on Facebook and Instagram. The link is posted across the screen. I tell you, that book is going to touch a lot of lives. And I applaud you for touching on the building up first, because
Mm-hmm.
people need to be built up. People need to know that there's power within them and that they need to
Mm-hmm.
tap into that power that's within them. Because for so long, we've been torn down, we've been broken, we've been traumatized and all types of things from environment. Even if we didn't go through a lot of these things in our life, just from environment, just from it, being around people can cause some of these things to impact your life. And sometimes we have to de-learn things. And I thank you for that, because when you build somebody up, it's hard to tear them down when they're going back and reliving those things. Um, so I thank you for doing that, because I went through a 12-step program when I was dealing with some of my mental illness, and learned that I suffer from codependency. Thought I could change
Mm,
somebody. Who could I change? I ain't got no power to change
mm,
somebody. But we do that. And because of other things, we think we have that power. So I learned a lot going through that. But with that program, they take you to the broken part first.
mm,
And if you can't deal, and a lot of people, I tell you, we started with like 25 people, and I think by the time we graduated, it was only two of us.
mm,
Because when people started digging into their past and start digging into stuff and having to relive all that stuff, a lot of people weren't ready to handle.
mm,
A lot of people weren't ready to handle. They couldn't handle it. So it was only two of us that graduated from the program. So I applaud you with starting with the building up first, because people need to be built up because we've been torn down for so long.
mhm,
No, and you look at a lot of the things that's taking place in the world now, um, even with the Black Lives Matter movement. Um, a lot of people, even though a lot of people have good intentions, a lot of us are coming out of a place of hurt. And a lot of us are coming out of a place of wanting revenge and wanting restitution. Some things that you're not going to get, you're not going to get restitution. And I'm at a point now to where, you got to forgive, forget, and move on.
mhm,
You got to heal yourself. You got to figure out what's on the inside that's bothering you. It's bigger than this Black Lives Matter movement, but
yep,
it has brought about a lot of things. But I want you to share. I've shared your links. I want people to hear it from your voice. I want them to hear how they can follow you. Um, and if you have anything upcoming that they need to know about, please share that as well.
yeah. So I am on Instagram and Facebook at Love and Serenity Wellness. I post a lot of inspirational knowledge on there, but as well as some educational things around emotional and mental wellness. And also I have you can go to my website at loveandserenitywellness.com for my book. But I also am a mindset coach, so I work with individuals one on one who are typically aspiring business owners or already business owners to help, really help them like on their healing journey so that way their unhealthy habits are no longer interfering with their current ones. When it comes to business ventures, because I know, if you that mental and emotional isn't in place and you're trying to start a business, that's an issue. So we always want to look at ways to, just help strengthen you and get you into like shifting your perspective so that way you have healthier outcomes with the decisions that you make in life. Um, but also, I have a Facebook group. It's a support group called Shifting Your Emotional Mindset, where I work with individuals, in a smaller private setting to, just give them tips and tools and things of that nature on different topics. I talk about every single topic that you can think of when it comes to like conflicts within family issues, addressing your pain, just talking about more in-depth exercise that you could do. But also, I do have some holistic wellness products because that's what I'm all about when it comes to wellness in general, where I have handmade products that I make that are for your skin, hair, and body care. So I have pain relief cream. I have some fragrance oils that address anxiety and insomnia, where I use just some natural herbs that typically calm the mind and the body. So those all things can be found at loveandserenitywellness.com. I am doing an Instagram takeover for Swag Her magazine tomorrow. Really excited about that. We'll be talking about stress since it is International Stress Awareness Week. So giving some nuggets on that tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have a lot of podcasts, interviews, and things like that that I'll be launching over the next week or so. But you can just follow me on those social media platforms. I typically put information out there on a routine basis about what I'm doing. I'm just looking forward to connecting with more people to assist them on their healing journeys.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, I want to thank you. I know God's been dealing with me with the word power, and definitely power fits what you're doing because people need to know that they have power
Mm-hmm.
and they need to know how to tap into their power. What does that word mean to you?
Mm. Power means rising above all things. Because when you're able to get areas of your life under control, that you felt like you never had under control, that's power. Power is being able to say, you know what, I'm changing my life for the better. I deserve better. And then also putting those standards and values in place, that actually nurture who you truly are. Really catering to your spirit, really loving yourself, putting those boundaries into place that are just non negotiables. Power is everything, it's something that's non negotiable, and it's something that people should be walking in every single day. It's so authentic. Um, it's so embracing. You know, I could go on and on about the word power because
Amen.
I didn't have power at some point and now I do have it. And it's something that money can't buy.
Amen.
Nobody can give you that. You have to take it. You have to snatch it. And I snatched
Amen.
my power. So I hope
Wow.
everybody else is doing the same thing.
Well, I want to share with you what God revealed to me with that word. So he told me the P stands for position. We have to position ourselves to overcome, and we have to be a willing vessel to empower others through our resilience. And you are definitely doing that today. You are definitely positioned to, because of you overcame um,
Mhm.
obstacles that tried to come. You overcame them, and you are definitely a willing vessel. You exhibit that today by coming on and sharing. Um, and you definitely are out to empower others with everything that you do. So I thank you, and you are definitely an example of resilience because you didn't allow anything to stop you from getting where you are today um, because you're here.
Yeah.
So you definitely represent power in the way that he dropped it in my spirit. So I thank you for all that you're doing. So hats off to you, young lady. I just want you to know if there's anything that I can do to assist you on your journey, please feel free to reach out to AALAC or Aspiring Authors Magazine. I have definitely been honored to have you on today. Is there anything that you would like to leave the listeners with before we leave?
Um, I think because it's such an interesting league, that the most important thing that I would like to leave the people with is to find ways to focus more on yourself. You know, you've been giving a lot of other people love, attention. You've been catering to other people. And I think it's very important that you start catering to yourself because you deserve that and so much more. And the more that you give it to yourself, the more other people are going to give it to you as well because you are the first representation of how you are supposed to be treated. And if you're not treating yourself, it's just other people are not going to do the same thing. So be more full of yourself, focusing on yourself, and really finding outlets to be able to love on yourself through the words and the activities that you do every single day.
Amen. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your words of encouragement. I tell you, I have been encouraged by you on today. So I thank you and I pray much success on your journey. You have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You as well. Take care.
So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Up Close and Personal with Angela on behalf of Aspiring Authors Magazine. I tell you, I have truly been blessed on today. If you have been blessed, please go over and follow Miss Shawnee. She's definitely doing some amazing things. She has some amazing products out. She's on Instagram and Facebook. We have her links posted. Please go over and support her. If you are available tomorrow, she's doing a takeover on Instagram. Go over and support her. I cannot stress enough, she's touching on some very important topics that's affecting our brown community. It's time for us to be healed through educating, empowering, and encouragement. She's definitely done that on today, and she's definitely walking in her power. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Up Close and Personal with Angela. I tell you, this week is starting off amazing. We've had two amazing guests on already. So make sure you tune in tomorrow at 12 noon and 1 p.m. Thank you guys. I love you with the love of Christ and continue to walk in purpose on purpose.